Hello, my name is Gabby Gilmer, and today I will be talking to you about the process of becoming nominated for president. Overall, what I'm going to go through is how exactly you became nominated in each state, what exactly the third parties have to conquer in order to even get on the ballot, what goes on at national conventions, the type of national conventions like primaries and caucuses, the general election, and how to become the actual president. So starting off with just becoming nominated to even be considered to be a candidate. First off, each state has different regulations. Some have different rules and the others have more strict rules while others are looser. And the reason for this is because in the Constitution, the states are required to control elections. Well, becoming part of the election and a candidate for the election is a part of it. So states have that control, and that's why the national government doesn't regulate this. Because of the fact that there's not any uniformity to the process is extremely complicated because from each state it varies on and on. Now, if you're a dominant party, the state governments are run by the dominant party. So it's very easy for them to work together to manipulate the elections to where it's easiest for them to win. But if you're a third party, you don't really have that control. So the dominant parties are going to try to make it as difficult as possible for you to even get on the ballot. The first problem is ballot access. In order for third parties to even have their names listed, they have to have at least 3 to 5% of the population to sign a petition saying that they are worthy to be even included. That's a lot of standing outside of Walmart asking for signatures, and that's to just get on one state. You would have to do that for all 50 states. So that's just a lot of time consuming. The other issue is funding. People donate money to presidential nominees because they think they're going to win. And by giving them this money, they are gaining power and control over them and influence. So if I say, hey, here's $100, what I'm really doing is giving them money so that when they become president, I have a little bit of influence and can get them to do what they want. Well, because it's third parties have a hard time getting on the ballot, they really don't have a good chance of winning. So getting people to give them money to get influence is really unlikely just because people don't think they're going to win. And also, like I talked about, the state governments are run by these two dominant parties who don't want the third parties to be interfering. So the regulations and guidelines are difficult for them to try to get around. Next thing is the national conventions. The national conventions are used to decide and announce who is going to run for president and vice president for a particular party. They're also used to help the party gain forward momentum, especially like for the opposing party. When the Democrats are in office, the Republicans have their national convention first. And this helps them get on the offensive side and attack and show what they're capable of. And then the party that is in office has to be more defensive. This also is a place where they say, hey, this is what this party is all about. They adopt the party's platform so that the people know what exactly the Republicans stand for. So they know when they vote for Mitt Romney, who's the Republican candidate, this is what he stands for. At these conventions, each of the presidential nominees or the presidential nominee that is chosen will give a speech to try to inspire voters and promote the party unity so that they're all on the same page. Now, there's two types of national conventions, primaries and caucuses. Primaries is kind of like voting. You show up at a polling place, you cast your vote, and you go about your business. The person with the most votes wins, and that's party's presidential nominee. Now, there's two types of primaries. There's open ones, which means you walk up, say, hey, I'm a Republican. They say, all right, go vote for the Republican nominee. Or you can say, hey, I'm a Democrat and vote for the Democratic nominee. It's very loose. You just make your call right there at that time, and then you go about your business. That's not held up to you by any means. It's just at that moment, what are you? Closed primaries are you have to be a registered member of that party to vote. So you can't just walk up and say, hey, I'm a Democrat. And this is favored by the parties, the closed. Open is helpful for the people in choosing candidates. The other type of national convention is caucuses. Caucuses is a closed meeting of people. It's the state conventions that go on, and there's different ones in each state. It's kind of like a PTA meeting where it's like I walk up to you and say, hey, let me talk to you and convince you why you should choose Mitt Romney or Barack Obama to be the presidential nominee. And then I talk to you and I convince you, and so then you go and talk to your friends and convince them to vote for Barack Obama. Oops. These are more indirect than primaries, because primaries you are directly voting for who it is. It's kind of like a direct democracy. But caucuses, it's talking and convincing and arguing it out. Now on to the general election. So once someone becomes a presidential nominee, now what? So election day occurs on the Tuesday following the first Monday in November. The national news says after everyone has physically put in a vote who the winner is, but technically that's incorrect. The president is not chosen by the popular vote. It's chosen by the Electoral College, and they don't meet until December. So technically we don't know who the president is until December. So this whole process of who's going to win lasts about 2 months. Now, to become president, like I said, the final decision is made by the Electoral College. There are 538 electors, and you have to win 270 of them to get the majority. If there's a tie, which would mean each nominee would get 269 electors, the presidential election would go to the House of Representatives, and the vice presidential election would go to the Senate. Now, some things to consider about this whole process is, number one, it's not exactly democratic. It's a very party system. How difficult it is for the third parties to get in. This isn't something that's supposed to be democratic. This is a party game that is created. It's run by the states, which states are run by the parties. And some people think this should be changed. Others think not. That's something you should consider while thinking about the whole process. The other thing is the Electoral College out of date? Should we personally be able to elect our president just based on our popular vote, or should it still keep the Electoral College? Because originally the Electoral College was put into place so that the people who don't really know what the nominees are all about wouldn't just vote for someone stupid, and we wouldn't have someone who shouldn't be in power. So those are just some things to consider about the presidential nominee. I hope you enjoyed and learned something.